consistent substance, liquefied, and so it's just going to take a couple minutes there to keep going. In the meantime, I'm going to bring forward the bowl here while that's going, and we're just going to add all of our dry ingredients. So I have some shredded coconut. The cacao powder that you use in this, it could be a cup and a half, 2 cups. It depends on how bitter and dark you like your chocolate. I like a bitter dark chocolate, so I'm adding 2 cups to that. And at this point, you would also add your spirulina powder, any other type of superfood powder that you want to have in there. All of it can go in there. I'm adding 3 tablespoons of maca powder. Maca brings across a really malty flavor, a deep kind of smoky and malty flavor, and it's a nice element to have in there. Too much maca might be overpowering for certain people who especially aren't used to a healthy flavor, but if you only add a few tablespoons, you're getting a lot out of that maca, and whoever's tasting it who's not used to it will really get that delicious chocolatey flavor without the maca on top of it.
So you could do or spirulina or
and add it all in there. So this looks good now. It's all well emulsified. You can see that. I don't see any chunks of the chocolate floating around. So I could just leave that at this point. If I were at home, I'd probably just keep it going. But for the sake of not yelling and breaking your eardrums, I'm just going to let that stop at this point. You can add anything you want to this, really, as long as it's as long as once you add the liquid portion, you can still stir it. You can keep adding stuff to it. So today I'm adding chopped Brazil nuts, and I like my chopped Brazil nuts to be pretty chunky because when I bite into it, I like having that little bit of chunk in there to crunch on. I'm adding cacao nibs to it. So like I was saying before, you could add hemp seeds and have even more protein in there. You could add other nuts. Macadamia nuts are amazing. You could take out the coconut if you wanted to and just have some type of a nut cluster. Having, and if you're using, now I'm going to add the goji berries and the mulberries. If you're not, so I love mulberries. I feel like they taste like cotton candy to me. They taste like this mild but sweet and creamy sort of treat. I just really love it, and the balance between that and the Inca berries that are this beautiful sweet tart flavor, it really it's a nice mixture of flavors for me. But you can use raisins if you want something instead. You could use cranberries that bring about a nice tartness as well. Basically anything that you could put in here. Pumpkin seeds, they're so high in zinc. I mean, sesame seeds, sunflower seeds, just whatever's in your cabinet, throw it in there. And add a little bit of chocolate, and then add this basic mixture, and it's going to be a candy, and your family will think that they're just eating this wonderful candy, and you'll know that they're getting all this nutrition and all of these superfoods and antioxidants that there's no way they would be getting if they were eating a Hershey's Kiss. There's no way that they would be getting that by eating a Snickers bar, but they'll be just as satisfied eating this. And I know that because I'm surrounded by people all the time who, I go up to visit my family in Oregon, my mother and my stepfather, and he's kind of like, oh, whatever, but I make these desserts. Desserts are the catalyst. Raw desserts come in and help people to feel like, oh, this is okay. I mean, this is actually good. I mean, this is kind of better than, that other stuff that I had over there at that bakery before. It's satisfying food also. Once you eat it, you really feel a deep nourishment inside of your body, and it tastes amazing, and the textures are amazing. So those are the things that you really want to look at when you're making raw desserts: taste, texture, and what's in there. What are you actually putting in it? And so with these raw desserts, you're putting in whole foods. So when somebody sits down to eat a pie, one thing that I get a lot is like, yeah, they're really good, but I can't eat that much of it. No, you can't eat 3 slices of a raw pie because you're eating food. Whereas if you're eating a cooked pie, you're eating a bunch of sugar, you're eating a bunch of flour, you're eating a bunch of emptiness. It's empty calories. And when you're sitting down and eating a raw piece of pie, you're eating coconut, you're eating dates, you're eating really, you're eating living food and whole food, and so your body gets satisfied. Our bodies know when they've had enough.
Do you recommend soaking those Brazil nuts?
No, but I do recommend soaking any nut that has a brown skin except for Brazil nuts. Brazil nuts don't, there is a bit of brown skin on there, but they're not holding enzyme inhibitors. Any nut that has a brown skin and seeds in general their health benefits are enhanced greatly by soaking them, so that you'll notice in the water that it becomes brown because the enzyme inhibitors have been released from the skin of the nut into the water, and they'll begin to plump up, and you might see some veins start to form in them. And what's happening is the enzyme inhibitors are released just as if a nut fell off of the tree, a seed fell off of the tree or the plant, and the water came in the springtime, and it released its enzyme inhibitors, and then the whole process of growth and germination begins to happen. All of those dormant energies, those dormant vital nutrients and minerals that will feed the new life, just like a pregnant mother, her body is drawing from everything she takes in to feed the new baby. The same thing happens to that nut, so it becomes so much more full of life and vitality. And the fats change to a more metabolizable fat as well. So those enzyme inhibitors keep that nut or seed safe until the rains come, so that they can survive through the heat of the summer, and they can survive through the dry of the fall or whatever it might be, and then the cold of the winter, and then when all the rains come and they start releasing those enzyme inhibitors, the new life can sprout up. So we also want to release those enzyme inhibitors so that we can benefit off of the life that is dormant within that seed or nut. But Brazil nuts, macadamia nuts, any other type of nuts that don't have a brown skin on them don't actually need to be soaked. Cashews, we soak them, but that's not for health benefit. That's just to make them softer so that they can break down more easily when we're using them in a raw dessert. So at this point, we've got everything mixed up, and I'm just going to, I'm going to let this go just for another minute or so, because I actually do see a couple little chunks of the cacao butter in there. And